Hey everybody, welcome to this Experience AI Challenge live stream, giving you everything you need to know on submission and answering your questions that you've sent us in. So before we answer those questions about the challenge, we're going to quickly take you through the process of the challenge itself, what it is, how you do it, and what happens once you submit your work to us at Raspberry Pi Foundation. And remember, if you have any questions that pop up as we go along, please pop them in the chat below and we'll get to them in the Q&A session. So the first thing we want to have a look at when we come to this sort of webinar today is the resources that we're providing for the challenge. So the resources come in three types. The first one is the mentor guide. And so that's a workbook that comes in a PDF that allows you to support and guide your young creators to success. It's all really shortcuts, tips and tricks that we found when working through the challenge that we can provide to you. So while your young people are working through all this machine learning AI stuff, you don't need to be an expert. You just have the guide in your hand that will tell you a lot of the shortfalls and things they're going to have come up, give you the answer to those questions that they're going to ask you so that you can just be there to support the ones who really do get stuck. It also comes in the creator guide. So those are the instructions that we give to the young people. Those are available online, and the young people just work straight through them, ticking the check boxes as they move through the instructions to help them deliver each section of the challenge. And then there's the creator blueprint, which is an optional document that you can print out and use as a workbook for your young people. It has the questions that they're asked and the instructions there in the notebook so they can keep their answers nice and close. But equally, you could use their classroom notebooks, loose paper that you have lying around, and put it all in a folio, anything that you have to record their work. If you're a DT, a science, or a CS teacher, you might already have a workbook. That would be perfect for running the challenge. They can keep all their answers and notes and design ideas in that. But we've provided one if you don't have that and would like to print out a bespoke document. To run the challenge, it takes about 3 to 5 hours of your time to complete, including submitting all the young people's projects to us for feedback. The only things you need is a computer with an internet connection and a browser. That's it. Everything else is, there's no hardware, there's nothing you need to buy, anything like that. As long as you have the internet connection and a browser, it will work. And you need a free student account on Machine Learning for Kids. There's another video that we've released already that have instructions on how to sign up for this and how to get those accounts organized. It's completely free, very easy, takes a few minutes. And a way to save and retrieve files locally. So you need to be able to download Scratch files to submit your projects, and to be able to keep those all organized and things like that outside of the young people's accounts is to have a USB drive, or they can save it to the laptops or the computers they're working on. You can name the files for them. As long as you can download and save their work, you're absolutely fine. And so optionally, but also recommended, is a copy of that blueprint document or a notebook where young people can keep their notes and ideas, the answers to the questions that they're asking themselves as they run through these instructions about machine learning and AI, a pen or a pencil to fill in those notes, and a pair of headphones, because some of the projects that we have audio outputs, and it's good to have some headphones because once you get 30 audio outputs going, it can get a bit chaotic and noisy. So having headphones for young people is a really nice optional extra, and we find that lots of young people tend to carry their own earbuds or headphones around these days anyway, so it's not too much of an ask. To run the challenge, there are 3 stages before submitting your project to us. Now, the first one is kind of a primer for your young people that explains what AI can do. What is AI in the world today? It shows them some fun and interactive AI applications so they get an idea of what machine learning is, what classification is, what sort of applications there are for these solutions in the world, and then they can get around the idea of how they can start making one for themselves. They also decide in the first stage whether they want to work in image, audio, or text classification. So they have 3 options of projects to make. Once they make that choice, in the second stage, they create a warm-up machine learning app. So in the data type that they chose, they train a machine learning model with some provided data, and then they create a Scratch app that utilizes that data. So if you've done a text one, then you're using text classification. It can look at the different sentiment analysis in text, and you make a Scratch project that the user can interact with to access your model. And then in the third one, you're making your own machine learning app. So what you're doing is taking an idea that you care about, something that is important to you, and applying the design thinking process to that problem to create an application, to create a product that you can then go and submit to us at the end. So it's exactly how product designers do that in the real world, and we lead your young people through each step of the design thinking process just like a real product designer or software engineer would. And then you submit that work to us and you get all these really, really great benefits, which I'll talk about in a minute. So the warm-up projects inside the challenge are really, really interesting. They're very short. They can be run as single sessions. They're intended to be quick fire, very easy to get your head around and come to grips with that data type. And they are split into data types for ease of access for young people. So they can do more than one if they want, but we recommend that at the second stage of the challenge, you really only ever do one of these projects. You don't want to do more than one unless your kids are really, really interested. So once they've chosen that data type, they do each one of these. So there's hot dog, not hot dog, or seafood, which dives into machine vision, and it sees if your machine vision algorithm can determine between foods that are a hot dog or not a hot dog. We have one called Chatterbox, where the young people do audio classification. So they say the words up, down, left, and right into the machine learning model, get other people to say it, different intonations, different voices, to get that really nice, robust data set. And then once they've got that, they can build a Scratch project that controls the sprite on screen by saying those words. And then the third one is hero or zero. So that's a text classification project. And so that one there, you get a machine learning model by giving it a bunch of quotes from heroes in literature and fiction and a bunch of villains in literature and fiction. And then it can determine when you type things in whether that's heroic or a villainous thing to say. So those are the warm-ups. And again, your young people should only really be doing one of these projects in the type of data stream that they would like to work in for their project. But if they want to do more than one, or they want to do a complex project at the third stage, they're very, very welcome to do more than one of these as their sort of practice round. The principles of machine learning are much the same all the way across, but working with the different data types can be interesting or can be varied. So it's not necessary, but if they want to do more than one, that's totally fine. The third stage, having young people make their own projects about problems that matter to them. So this follows the design thinking process of empathize, so thinking about your audience. Who are you making this thing for? What is the problem that you are solving? How are you going to get this solution to those people? Think about your audience, think about your user first, okay? So user-centric design. And then you want to define what your project is. So what is it? We know the solution, we know the user, we understand these limitations. Then we define what our project is within those. How are we going to make the solution? What does the solution look like for these people and this problem? Then we start throwing ideas and seeing what sticks in the ideate section, saying this could be that, it could look like this, these are some colors, anything that sparks your interest, anything that inspires you to think, throw ideas into the pot and see what comes back. That's the ideate section. And then once you whittle those down into what's plausible, what's possible, because you do get young people asking to build 23-foot tall moving robot rabbit statues that can spit fire and have laser beam eyes. They will ask you for this, but you just have to whittle those ideas down to what's practical, what's possible in the time you have available, what's possible with the technology you have available, and then get them to move into prototyping. Start building that idea, start thinking about the physical and the build of that. How are you going to make the thing that is inside your head? What is it going to look like? What are you going to need to do about your data set? How are you going to train that model? And then you test it and you iterate. You get other people to use it and see if it works in a lot of different cases, and you go back and you revamp it. You iterate your project. You go back, you make it better, you test and iterate until you run out of time. And then you submit to us. And so we can get that feedback back to you from all of our experts on the amazing work that your young people are doing. And that brings us to submitting. So once you've done that test and iterate process and your young people have got a project to where they would like it or where it's possible for them to get it to with what you've got available, including time. Time is a valid resource, right, to be aware of, and maybe you ran out of time, and that's a fine thing to say on your project when you submit, because that will be taken into account on your feedback. And so that's the big thing about submitting. When you do it, you're going to make a model card with all the information about your machine learning model and its training data, which is easily accessible on Machine Learning for Kids platform. And there's another video again with all the instructions on how to get that, easily available on our YouTube channel. You have to download and attach your Scratch project. Again, same video, there's instructions on how to do that. It's as easy as clicking save to your computer, bringing that file down and making sure it has your name in the Scratch file. And then completing a short research survey for us. So this research survey is really imperative. It's done in conjunction with the University of Cambridge, and it helps us improve these resources. So the next time you come along and run these resources with your young people, they'll be even better than they are today. Help us make more inclusive, more forward-thinking resources for you in the future by filling out that survey. It only takes a couple of minutes, but it really, really helps us no end. And then the last thing, and possibly the most important thing, is your submission code. So when you register as an adult, you're someone who's over 13 or is in charge of a bunch of young people, you can register and you get a registration code which says that someone is saying it's okay for a young person to use these tools. It's about data protection and safeguarding. And so if you don't include your submission code in your submission, we cannot accept it. It won't be accepted as a submission and all of them will be invalid. So it's an easy thing to get hold of. When you register, we will email it to you, and then you get that submission code and make sure your young people are putting it into their submissions as they are submitting, or we can't accept it. In your model card, and again, the instructions for this are in another video, this information is all in your train and test page. And so what we're looking at here is the information that your model has collected about the data set that you provided in its training. And so it tells you the last time that you trained the model. It also tells you all the different data types that you're running, all the classes in your model, and how many examples in each class. So that's really important to the assessors to have a look at and to know that information, the technical stuff about your model, so we know how you built it, what you did in its training, and that will allow us to give you really nice, nuanced, and authentic and useful feedback on your models and how to make them better in the future. This is the example model card that we give. So you give your young people so that they can fill it out when they submit. Now, the first one is a description. It's almost like the blurb or the elevator pitch for their model. What does it do? Tell us in a few words exactly what your model's for. Why did you make it? And then it's intended use. So who's going to use it? How did you think about that? What are the use cases for this thing you've built? So instead of trying to sell it to us, explain it to us. The third one is the limitations, and this one's really important as well. What did you run out of? What didn't you have? What couldn't you do? Why is your model the way it is, and what would you like it to be? Those are really important things for the judges to understand about your model, because that helps us give you that feedback. Oh, we understand you were thinking about that. Here's some shortcuts. Or we see that you did this. Have you thought about that? It allows us to give you that authentic, nuanced feedback that really makes those answers. When the kids come back to working on it, it will make their work pop really, really amazingly. And the last two bits here are quite technical about the data set. So what we want to know is, what is your reference sources? Okay, so what number of items did you use? And that was all available on that previous page. You can get that out of Machine Learning for Kids. You want to give that to all of us so that we can have a look at it and say, oh, I see. Well, your model wasn't very accurate. And you've said that. That might be because you needed to add more training data in these classes, or maybe having more classes that were limited in some way would help you give that model a real edge in the way it's working. And then your accuracy. So that helps us. Once you've tested it and you've played with it, you tell us, how do you think it did? Was it as accurate as you would like? How do you think you could get it to be more accurate? What did you see it doing that you thought, it shouldn't be doing that. I don't like that. And is that a bug or a feature? There's a really interesting discussion to have around bugs versus features in machine learning models as well, but that's for another video. So if you've got all this information, the example for the machine learning model card is in the student instructions, and all of these young people can get hold of that as well. So to save your work in Scratch is very, very easy. Once you're working on your project, you just click File, and you can see here on the slide that we just click Save to your computer. And again, once you've got it on your computer, you just open Scratch and load it from your computer. So the cloud version of Scratch that we're using is tied to Machine Learning for Kids, and it doesn't have the same level of cloud storage that the vanilla version of Scratch does, the Scratch that you would use on the MIT website. This one here is slightly different. It's been forked to use Machine Learning for Kids, and so you have to be able to save and load your work locally every time. Pardon me. So that's a really important thing to be able to do, but it's super duper easy. And that's why we said, at the beginning, that you have some local storage for your kids' projects. And again, the submission code. I know I spoke about it before. I'm going to speak about it again, because without the submission code, we cannot accept your entries. They just will not be accepted. It's part of the safeguarding GDPR limitations that we have around the project. And so if you don't include that code, we can't take your entries. So please register, get that code, put it into us. And you can find it when you're logged into your challenge website as well. That's the other thing to remember. So once you're logged into the challenge website and you've registered, it will be inside your website. You can access it from there as well. You don't have to go hunting back through your agent emails. Okay, so what happens after you give us your project? Your young people have worked for all this time on this project. They're really passionate about it. They've made something amazing. You filled out a form and sent it all off to us. Now what? What is the point? Why would you send it off to us? So once it comes into us, we take every entry and we share it out to our team of AI experts who are sort of leading the field. These are unique people who are some of the brightest minds in the AI field. They have a track record of pushing the boundaries with what's possible in technology, and we have people from all sorts of partners, different people we work with. And so once you send your work to us, lots of them will get eyes on it. They come at us all the time saying, can we please work with you, have a look at some of these young people's things. It's really inspiring for our people. And we get all these software engineers companies from all over the UK and all over the world, indeed, asking us to help with coolest projects. XAI Challenge, have a look at your work. So you'll get really great, authentic, nuanced feedback from these people on these young people's projects. Every young person who submits will get a certificate of achievement and a sticker and poster pack for you. So we know that they like to have immediate feedback, immediate results. You can have these things that are printable, and you can get that sticker and poster pack sent out to your classroom to give kids stickers once they've finished and they've submitted. And then we have a showcase event. So the shortlisted entrants will be shown off at our super secret VIP showcase event, and that's going to take place later on in this year, and we're going to have more details for that. We'll announce all the details for that really cool event later. But if you don't submit, we can't get your entries, and we can't invite you to our special events or do any of this feedback stuff for you. So now it's time for the Q&A. So we've had some questions come in, and it's up to you guys now. So if you've got some questions, pop them in the chat, and I'm more than happy to pop those up and answer them for you now. So we've got one come in from, okay, so this one, how long does the challenge take to complete? Is there a way to do it in less time? Great question, yes. So the challenge is planned out to take around 3 to 5 hours to complete, depending on how much time you have. There is a way to do it in less time, what we call the fast track. And so if you go onto the challenge website, you can see there's a fast track document that you can get hold of, which allows you to condense the project down and skip a few of the early chunks out in favor of conversations and move straight into the planning and designing machine learning models stage. So you can truncate that if you have less time, no problem at all. That's absolutely doable. Okay, a question is coming from Suchi Brata. Where are the prompts available for writing the model card? So the prompts for the model card are available in the notebook for young people, the blueprint document, and they're also in the mentor guide. You can find them in both places. It shows you how to fill out those model cards and explains what the document should be like. So you can get hold of that there at rpf.io/xai blueprint. That's the young people's notebook. You can get hold of that, and rpf.io/xai mentor will get you the mentor guide, and you can have a look at that, and it is the link on the screen. So if you pop up both of those documents, you can have the bit about the model card in there, explaining that sort of thing and why we use that, why we need that information about your model. Cool. I don't have any experience with AI. Will I be able to run the challenge? Absolutely. It's designed for non-experts to run. We've done work previously with the Scouts in the UK, and the resources that we built for them are designed in much the same way here for computer science. So those resources are available for anybody to pick up. Like I say, the mentor guide is sort of the cheat sheet that comes with the resources. So you give your young people the website, the creator guide, where they sit down and they follow the 3-stage process. Whereas in your back pocket, you have the mentor guide, which has all the shortcuts, it has all the answers, and it gives you the explanations and the breakdowns on the really complicated parts of things that kids are going to ask you. So if you get the kids to follow the instructions, and when they get stuck, they should come to you, that's the best way to run the challenge. So we have in Coder Dojo, one of the great sayings is ask 3, then me. And I really love that in sort of a making classroom, a challenge classroom like this one, where you have your young people ask 3 of their peers before they come to you. So the reason we do that, there are lots of levels involved in asking young people to ask each other. There's social sharing. It makes it a social activity. Everybody's having a good time together. It also reinforces your learning. As we know, you've never really understood anything until you've tried to teach it to somebody else. So the young person giving the answer is reinforcing their own learning. And that person there is asking their friend and having that sort of positive interaction, getting their learning taught by their peers, which is much more sticky learning than having me, the boring grown-up, tell them another thing again. So lots of reasons to have them do ask 3, then me, and then that allows you to be freed up for only 30% of the ones who have made it through those 3 barriers. They've asked 3 different people, nobody could help them. They're really stuck. They pop their hand up, then you can go and help them. Pull your cheat sheet out of your back pocket, and all the answers are there for you to help them. Cool. Some more questions coming in. How do I make an AI model with text? Tried it, doesn't work. Could I explain how to use the Watson API? Yes, so there are instructions on the Watson API. They're a little long to run through on the live stream today, but the other video that we ran through before, it talks about Watson API. You can have the Watson API set up for you if you request it when it comes to that point. You can see in the instructions, it will say you can request to have the setup done by the people at Machine Learning for Kids. And that's in the mentor guide as well, and the instructions on how to get set up. All of those instructions are inside the mentor guide. It is a little bit fiddly, and you do have to sign up for it, but it will never charge you anything. You'll never come off the free tier of IBM Watson. And that's the reason we use it for the text analysis is because that's the engine that we use. So Machine Learning for Kids internally can do image and audio processing, not two problems, but it has to send out for text. It has to go off to IBM Watson and use that external engine for it. So those instructions, yeah, we can't do it on this video, I'm afraid, but if you go and have a look at the other one video, or you go and look at the mentor guide, they're in there. Is the program only available in the UK? Are there plans to expand to other countries in the future? Boreth, yes. Right now, submission is only available in the UK, but we are working on expanding to other countries in the future. So the Experience AI program that we have at the Raspberry Pi Foundation is expanding all the time. We're moving into lots of different places all over the world. And at the moment, the challenge is coming along. So we're looking at expanding that soon. So this is the first time we're getting submissions for the challenge. And so once we get all that feedback, we solidify the challenge, we iterate again, we're hoping to expand to other countries. So you can still absolutely, definitely get the resources and run the program with your young people. Please do that and then feed back to us how it went. We would love to hear from you, but we can only take UK submissions at the moment. That's the only ones that we're getting. But in the future, we hope to change that. Just like with Coolest Projects, which is worldwide, we hope Experience AI Challenge can go the same way. And that's the other thing too, while I'm talking about Coolest Projects, please, if you've done something here for the challenge, you can also submit to Coolest Projects. Coolest Projects, another one of our amazing initiatives. Young people all over the world making things they care about, please send them into both places. There's no reason you shouldn't. My time might not have time to complete their project. Can they still submit something? Yes, in the same vein as Coolest Projects, we love unfinished projects. Submit them to us, that's totally fine. We get that time is a valuable resource that often runs out. Sometimes you just don't have enough of it. And so that's totally fine. As long as you say in your model card or in your submission to us that we ran out of time. With more time, we would have done this. This is what we hoped for our work. We can work with you and give you some really great feedback on how to achieve those things. So yes, you can absolutely submit a project that you don't consider finished. Just tell us what you thought about it. It's valuable. It's a valuable submission to us for you to say, this isn't finished. I wish it was like this. That's still really cool, and we still love to see those. What makes a project exceptional, and how can we increase our chance of being shortlisted, and does each project receive feedback? So those are two different questions. So the first one is really easy and short. Does each project receive feedback? Yes. Okay, we will feedback to all the projects that get submitted. We will look at your work and we will let you know what we thought about it and how you can make it better, how you can get those really interesting things about your project to the forefront, and what you can do to make it shine. And so what makes a project exceptional? How do you know that before you get the feedback? What makes it exceptional? Often it's passion. So the first thing you want to do is make sure your kids are making something they care about. And one thing I say to lots of teachers and lots of club leaders is it might seem really dumb to you that they want to do a classifier that looks at different Fortnite skins, right? For example, they just want to classify this Fortnite skin versus that Fortnite skin. That seems dumb. It's not to them. They thought of it. They really care about it. They will pour their heart into that work. Support that idea, push hard on it, and you'll see the passion will start coming out. They will immediately work harder. Instantly, that idea, the one that they are working on that they really care about, that one will immediately be better. The quality will be baked all the way through it. And then some of the things that you can do to make sure that you can be shortlisted. And this is just my opinion, of course, just my opinion. Multiple data types. If you have one that's using multiple data types, if you have one that's using image classification and something else, or you're adding a different level of interaction with that, if it's not just hold something up and it tells you it's this, then it's interesting. If you're looking at use cases, if you're looking at adding more to it, tells me that it's this because I put an input. If you're adding a layer of interaction or something different, that's really cool. So for an example of that, I could talk to you about Quick Draw. So Quick Draw is one of the example projects that your young people get to play with in the first stage of the Experience AI Challenge. We show it as a really great example of machine learning classification in images, because what it asks you to do, it's basically playing Pictionary against an AI. And so it asks you to draw a house, and you draw a house, and the AI keeps guessing and guessing and guessing until it gets it right. Okay, and that's just classification. That could literally be me holding up a picture of a house and the AI that I built saying house. But because of that extra level of interaction where it's asking me to play a game, that is now a high level and very interesting, exceptional project. Okay, so it's about building that user interaction. What is interesting about it? What is the thing that your user is going to do that makes it more than just a telling me what's what robot? Okay, that's one thing that I would say. Another thing is making sure that your Scratch code is nice and clean. There are lots of ways to do different things. And if I have two projects that do the same thing, and one of them has like very nice code and you've got comments and I can see that you've really done the work on making the back end of your Scratch project as good as it can be for somebody else, that project is going to be put shortlisted above the one that has messy code, loose blocks, chunks everywhere. But again, time is a factor. So you could say, I know my blocks are messy, but I ran out of time. And that sort of mitigates for me. So making sure that you're giving a good, solid submission, explaining your work is the third thing that I would say. So making sure that when you give me your submission, you're saying, this is what I wanted it to be, this is where it got to, and this is why. Okay, answering those important questions is going to get you that really great shortlisted answer. So again, to run through those things again, making sure that you're doing some sort of extra level of interaction or extra level of sort of machine learning, something cool and unique, making sure that your Scratch project is really nice, and making sure that your submission has all those sorts of really great answers in it. You're explaining to us what you were thinking and what you were doing and how you felt about that work when you're producing it. The more answers you give us in your submission, the better it is, the better we can get that feedback to you. Okay, and we do get lots of submissions that are, my project does this, it was fun, I found it hard because I ran out of time, and that's a valid submission, but it's not going to be shortlisted. So many other people give us answers that are like, I had all of these ideas in my head and I had to cut them down. So making sure your submission is there is really important as well. Right. Will everyone who submits get stickers? Yes, everyone will get stickers. Everyone who submits will get stickers and a poster, and you will also get a certificate that you can print out and take home. Because we know young people like that short-term reward. They like that short-term payoff to say, I finished a thing. Here's the thing for that. Because the submission can sort of be like passing a thing off or throwing it down a well and not quite sure what's happening. So yes, we're getting you stickers. Yes, you'll have a poster for your classroom explaining some of the big principles of AI in a really accessible, friendly, approachable way for young people. And you'll also get we'll give you the certificates that you can print out. They can take them home and share them with their relatives and friends, show the really cool work that they've done. It's always important to do that. We've done the challenge. What should we do next? So I've already mentioned coolest projects. So you can, if you've run out of time for the challenge, then there's still more time to submit for coolest projects. Keep working on your project. You'll get that feedback from the challenge judges, and you can take that, put it into your project for coolest projects. We also have the Experience AI. So we have the Inspire lessons, which are like a series of classroom lessons that you can take and run in your school classroom, which explain the big concepts of AI. They look at bias in machine learning. They look at classification, all sorts of different things. Really nice, holistic sort of set of 6 classroom lessons, and we're building more resources, formal resources for the classroom. If you haven't seen AstroPi, we did this really great project called AstroPi, where you can submit your code. That's in Python, so it's textual code rather than Scratch like the challenge is, but you can write your code and submit it and run your code on the International Space Station. When I say that to people, I often have to explain that you literally will get your code run on the International Space Station. We have 2 Raspberry Pi computers up there, and your code will run in space, literally. So you can do that. That doesn't take too much time either. We have Mission Zero, we have Mission Space Lab. If you're a science teacher or you'd like to get involved in some coding, or computer science teacher who'd like to do some more long-term experimental science in space, you can do Space Lab, where you submit a project to us and we shortlist you, and you can get it run on the ISS. You can do 2 laps of the Earth and get all your meter readings back from the ISS. So yeah, there's a bunch of different opportunities that you can take, but the Raspberry Pi Foundation is offering all sorts of things all the time. So I suggest you jump onto those AstroPi, coolest projects, yeah, anything like that. All right, have we got any more questions coming in? I think that might be it. Fantastic. I think that's it for our questions. Cool. So thanks very much, everybody, for coming along to our webinar today. It was really great to see you all. I hope it was helpful. You can also communicate with us through the Experience AI website. You can send us an email and we will get back to you with any of those sort of queries that you have. We had some queries earlier about what's an API and things like that. Please do email us here at aiprojects@raspberrypi.org. We're always pleased to communicate with anybody who's running the challenge. And let us know. Please do submit your work with your young people and fill out those surveys for us so we can make these resources the best they can possibly be. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.